The agricultural dome hummed with life as checked the moisture levels in the soil beds. Earth plants grew in neat rows under the artificial lights, their green leaves a small piece of home on this alien world. He had been working on 442B for 6 months now, and the colony of New was finally starting to feel less like a temporary outpost and more like a place where humans could actually live. The warning alarm started as a low beep, then grew into a screaming wail that made his heart jump. He looked up at the dome's control panel and felt his stomach drop. Solar storm. The red letters flashed across the screen with increasing urgency. He had maybe 3 minutes before the radiation hit, and the dome's shields were showing critical errors. Ran to the emergency panel and tried to activate the backup systems. Nothing happened. He tried again, his fingers shaking as he pressed the buttons. The main power was failing and the backup generators weren't responding. Through the transparent sections of the dome, he could see the sky turning strange colors as the solar storm approached, beautiful and deadly. The shield failure alarm joined the cacophony of warnings, grabbed his emergency communicator and tried to call the main colony. Static. The solar storm was already interfering with all communications. He was alone, trapped in a dome that was about to fail, with toxic atmosphere waiting outside and radiation about to cook everything inside. He had no suit, no time to reach the emergency shelter, no way to fix the shields before they collapsed completely. Sat down heavily on the floor between the rows of tomato plants he had been nurturing for weeks. This was a stupid way to die, he thought. So far from Earth, so far from everyone he loved, sitting in a garden that would be dead in minutes. The air started to smell wrong. The dome's atmospheric processors were failing. Closed his eyes and tried to remember what Earth smelled like in spring. Light flooded the dome, but it wasn't the harsh light of radiation. It was soft, almost blue, and it came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Opened his eyes and saw her standing 3 meters away between the rows of pepper plants. She looked almost human. Almost. Her skin had a faint glow to it like moonlight on water, and her eyes were the color of violets but brighter, more alive. Strange markings traced along her arms and neck, pulsing gently with light. She wore something that wasn't quite clothing, more like liquid metal that moved with her body. They stared at each other for a long moment, wondered if he was already dead and hallucinating. The girl tilted her head and studied him with those impossible eyes. Then she raised one hand, and the dome's control panel came to life with lights had never seen before. The alarms stopped. The shield indicators turned from red to green. The atmospheric readings stabilized. The whole thing took maybe 10 seconds, and then the girl lowered her hand and looked at him again. "You are safe now," she said. Her voice was soft but clear, with an accent he couldn't place because it didn't sound like any Earth language. She spoke Korean, but it was too perfect, like she had learned it from a textbook written by someone who had never actually had a conversation. Tried to stand up, but his legs were shaking too much. "Who are you? How did you do that?" The girl smiled, and it transformed her face from alien to something almost familiar. "My name is very long in my language. You may call me if you like. I have been watching your colony." Watching us, finally managed to get to his feet. "From where?" Pointed up, though the dome's ceiling blocked any view of the sky. "My ship is in orbit. We have been observing humanity since you arrived on this world. You are very interesting." Interesting enough to save, heard himself say. His brain was still catching up to what had just happened. "You were going to die," said it simply, as if that explained everything. "I could not allow that." "Why not? I mean, thank you, but why? If you've been watching us, you must have orders or protocols or something." Looked away and her skin's glow dimmed slightly. "I do have orders. I am breaking them by being here. But when I saw you were in danger, I felt something strange. My people do not feel such things anymore, but I did. I had to help." Before could ask what she meant, walked to the control panel and placed her hand on it again. Streams of data appeared in the air, holographic displays showing information about the dome systems. Your backup generators had a flaw in their design. I have corrected it. You should not have problems again. I don't understand any of this, admitted. Your technology, why you're here, any of it. Turned back to him and her eyes shifted color slightly, becoming more blue than violet. I do not fully understand it either. My people abandoned emotions long ago. We made ourselves logical and efficient. But sometimes I feel things that my people say should not exist. When I saw you working in this garden, growing earth plants on an alien world, trying to make life in a place that did not have it, I felt something. And when I saw you were going to die, I felt something else. Something that made me act without thinking. What did you feel? Asked quietly. Was silent for a moment, her expression thoughtful. I do not know the word. My language does not have it anymore. But in your language, I think you might call it care. A sound came from his wrist, though she wore nothing there. She looked down at something couldn't see and her glow dimmed further. I must leave. My ship has detected that I am not where I should be. If they discover I made contact, there will be consequences. Wait, said, taking a step forward. Will I see you again? Looked at him for a long moment, and her eyes shifted through several colors before settling back on violet. I should say no. I should tell you to forget this happened, but I find that I do not want to say that. Then don't, said, surprising himself with his boldness. Come back, please. I'd like to understand. I'd like to know more about you. Smiled again, that strange, beautiful smile. I would like that as well, but it must be secret. My people must not know. Before could respond, began to fade, becoming transparent like mist. Thank you for growing beautiful things on this dead world, she said, and then she was gone, vanished as completely as if she had never been there. Stood alone in the dome, surrounded by his earth plants on an alien world, and realized two things. First, she had known his name without him telling her. Second, he desperately wanted to see her again. The communicator crackled to life as the solar storm passed. Voices shouted through the static, asking if he was okay, if the dome had survived. Picked up the communicator and told them everything was fine, that the backup systems had worked after all. He didn't mention the girl with glowing skin and color-changing eyes who had appeared from nowhere and saved his life. He didn't mention that she had called him by name or that she promised she might return. Some things, he decided, were too strange to explain. At least not yet. 3 weeks passed and threw himself into his work with an intensity that made his roommate worry. Every morning was in the agricultural dome before dawn. Every night he stayed until the artificial lights dimmed. He told himself he was just focused on making the crops thrive, but the truth was harder to admit. He was hoping she would come back. The colonies, a sharp woman named, had interviewed him twice about his report of the solar storm incident. She believed something unusual had happened, even if the official report called it a lucky malfunction of the backup systems. Had found trace elements in the dome's atmosphere that didn't match anything in Earth's periodic table or any known element on 442b. On the 22nd night after the incident, was adjusting the irrigation system when the air shimmered near the tomato plants. His heart jumped before his mind caught up, materialized slowly this time, as if she was being more careful. The glow of her skin seemed brighter in the dim evening light of the dome. You came back, said, setting down his tools. I should not have, replied, but she was smiling. I have been watching from my ship. Every day you are here. Every day you tend these plants with such care. Why do you care so much about them? Looked at the rows of vegetables growing in alien soil. Because they're from home, because they're alive, because making things grow in a place where nothing grew before feels like hope. He paused. That probably sounds stupid. No, said softly, stepping closer. It sounds beautiful. My people have forgotten how to see beauty in simple things. We build cities that span continents, ships that cross galaxies, but we do not grow gardens anymore. We synthesize everything we need. That sounds lonely, said. His eyes shifted to a deeper blue. It is. I did not know it was lonely until I saw you here, surrounded by growing things so far from your home world. You brought Earth with you in these seeds. They talked for hours that night, explained that her people, had eliminated emotions from their genetics thousands of years ago. They believed feelings caused wars, conflicts, and suffering. By removing emotions, they had created a peaceful, efficient civilization that had mastered technology beyond human imagination. But you feel emotions, pointed out. You said you felt something when you saved me. I am broken, said, though she didn't sound sad about it. Or perhaps I am not broken but different. Sometimes my people have children who are born like the ancient before we changed ourselves. We feel things. Most are taught to suppress it, to take treatments that eliminate the emotions. But I refused the treatments. I wanted to understand what our ancestors felt. And what do you feel now? Asked. Looked directly at him and her eyes went through a ripple of colors. Curiosity, wonder, something warm when I see you smile, something tight in my chest when I think about not seeing you again. I do not have words for all of it. My language lost those words long ago. Reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and took her hand. Her skin was warm and the markings on her arm pulsed brighter at the contact. In Korean, we have many words for feelings. I can teach you if you want. I want that, said. I want to understand everything. Over the next month, visited whenever she could slip away from her duties on the ship. She told about the High Council, the ancient beings who governed her people with perfect logic. She explained that her commander was growing suspicious of her frequent absences. They considered humans too primitive, too emotional, too dangerous to interact with officially. Contact was forbidden. Why do they think we're dangerous? Asked one night as they sat together between the rows of growing plants. Because you feel everything so intensely, explained. Your species makes decisions based on love, anger, fear, hope. My people cannot predict that. They see your emotions as chaos, as something that could spread to us like a disease if we have too much contact. Is that why you keep coming back? Teased gently. Are we contagious? Laughed, a sound she said she had never made before meeting him. Perhaps you are. I find myself feeling more every time I am here. Yesterday, I listened to human music for the first time. I felt something so strong that I had to stop the recording. Is that normal? Music is supposed to make you feel things, said. What did you listen to? A very old song from your Korea, about spring and cherry blossoms and someone waiting for love. Eyes shifted to pink. A color had learned meant she was feeling something tender. It made me think of you in this garden, making things bloom on a world that has never had spring. His friend finally confronted him one evening when returned to their quarters later than usual. You're seeing someone, said, and it's not anyone from the colony. I've asked around. Hesitated, then decided his friend deserved the truth. Remember the solar storm incident? I wasn't entirely honest in my report. He told everything. About the forbidden meetings. Listened without interrupting, his expression cycling through disbelief, shock, and finally concern. Said carefully when the story was finished. I know you get attached to things easily. You cry at movies. You name your plants, but this is different. She's an alien, from a species that doesn't even want contact with us. What exactly do you think is going to happen here? I don't know, admitted. But when I'm with her, everything makes sense. She's learning what emotions are by experiencing them for the first time. She's discovering parts of herself that her people tried to erase. And I'm learning about the universe through her eyes. We're teaching each other. You're falling in love with her, said. It wasn't a question. Didn't answer, but his silence was answer enough. This can't end well, warned. Even if her people don't find out, even if everything goes perfectly, what kind of future can you have? You're human. She's something else entirely. You can't even exist in the same place without her using some kind of technology to survive in our atmosphere. I know, said quietly. I know it's impossible, but when has that ever stopped humans from trying? That night couldn't sleep. He went to the dome early, before dawn, and found already there. She was touching the leaves of a strawberry plant with careful fingers, marveling at how delicate they were. These are so fragile, she said when she noticed him. How do they survive? They're stronger than they look, said. They adapt. They find ways to grow even in difficult conditions. Turned to face him, and her markings were glowing brighter than he had ever seen. I must tell you something. Commander suspects I am not where I claim to be during my absences. He has begun investigating. Soon he will know I have been coming here. What will happen? Asked, fear cold in his stomach. I will be recalled, examined. They will try to determine if I have been compromised by human emotions. If they find that I have, they will force me to undergo the treatment to eliminate my feelings. They will erase everything I have discovered with you. Crossed the distance between them and took both her hands. Then don't go back, stay here. We'll hide you, protect you. I cannot, said, and her eyes shifted to a gray color he had never seen. My ship tracks my biological signature. If I defect, it will cause an incident between our peoples. Humans are not ready for conflict with the. Your technology is thousands of years behind ours. I cannot put your species in danger because of my feelings. Your feelings matter, insisted. You matter, we'll find a way. Touched his face, her glowing hand gentle against his skin. This is what humans do, is it not? You hope even when logic says there is no hope. You fight for things even when you cannot win. Yes, said, we do, and sometimes we win anyway. Leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his, a gesture she had taught him that meant complete trust. Then let us hope together, for whatever time we have left. Teach me more about emotions. Teach me what it means to feel everything the way humans do. I will, promised. Starting with this one. What you're feeling right now, that warm feeling that makes you want to smile and cry at the same time, that makes you willing to risk everything just to be near someone. We call that love. His eyes went through every color he had ever seen and several new ones. Love, she repeated. I think I have been feeling this for a while now. I think this is why I keep breaking my orders to come here. I feel it too, said. I love you, even though it's impossible, even though we're from different worlds and different species, even though everyone would say we're crazy. Then we are crazy together, said, and she laughed that beautiful laugh that she had learned from him. I love you too, and I will find a way for us to keep loving each other. I do not know how, but I will find it. They stood together in the garden as the dome's lights brightened to simulate dawn, holding each other across the impossible distance between their worlds, hopping for a future that logic said could never exist. The plague started on a Tuesday morning. A colonist named collapsed in the main habitat during breakfast, coughing blood. By evening, 12 more had the same symptoms. By the end of the week, 60 people were in the medical bay fighting for their lives. Worked day and night trying to identify the pathogen. It was native to 442b, a microorganism that had somehow adapted to attack human cells despite humanity never encountering anything like it before. The colony's medical technology was designed for known diseases. This was something completely alien, and people were dying. Hadn't seen in 10 days. She had stopped coming to the dome after warning him that was watching her too closely. Threw himself into helping however he could, but his expertise was agriculture, not medicine. He felt helpless watching his fellow colonists suffer. Was one of the infected. His friend, who had warned about getting too attached to an impossible love, was now lying in a medical bay bed with a fever that wouldn't break and lungs that were slowly filling with fluid. The doctors said they had maybe 3 days to find a cure before the casualties became catastrophic. On the 8th night of the outbreak, sat alone in his garden. The plants needed care even during a crisis, but mostly he was there because it was the place he felt closest to. The place where they had learned what love meant together. He was exhausted beyond thought, running on coffee and fear. The words came out without planning, a whisper to the empty air. I wish I could marry her. I wish I could spend my life with someone who understands. But that's impossible. I'm talking about an alien who I'll probably never see again, and my people are dying. The air shimmered and was there. But she looked different. Her glow was brighter, more intense, and her eyes were cycling through colors so fast they appeared almost white. She looked at him with an expression he had never seen before, something between determination and fear. "Then it shall be," said. Stood up so fast he knocked over his water container. "What are you doing here? I thought you couldn't come." "I could not, I should not, has confined me to the ship, but I heard you." She touched her chest. "Here, I felt your pain from orbit, I felt your people dying, and I felt your heart breaking." "You can feel all that?" asked, moving toward her. "The emotions are getting stronger," said. "Or perhaps I am simply learning to feel them more completely, but I could not stay away when I felt you suffering." Her eyes settled on a deep purple. "You spoke of marriage. Do you understand what that means to my people?" "I was just talking to myself," said. "I didn't think you would hear. I didn't mean to make you break confinement." Took his hands. "In culture, before we eliminated emotions, we had bonding ceremonies, a joining of minds and lives. We have not performed one in thousands of years, but the ancient texts still exist. When you said you wished to marry me, I felt something complete inside me, as if I had been waiting to hear those words. I do want that, but right now my people are dying. I don't know what to do." His expression became focused. "Tell me about this illness." Explained what had discovered about the pathogen, the failed treatments, the timeline before they started losing people. Listened intently, her markings pulsing as she processed the information. "I can help," she said when he finished. "Medical technology is advanced beyond what humans have developed. We have encountered thousands of alien pathogens across the galaxy. I can synthesize a cure." "You would do that?" asked. "But if you share technology, won't that get you in even more trouble?" "Yes," said simply. "Sharing technology with humans is strictly forbidden. We'll know immediately when I access the medical database. The High Council will be informed. There will be consequences." "Then don't," said, even though the words hurt. "I can't let you destroy your life to save us." Smiled sadly. "This is the difference between my people and yours. I would calculate the logical choice. Risk my entire future against the lives of colonists I do not know. The mathematics say I should return to my ship and do nothing." Her eyes shifted to gold. "But I have learned from you that logic is not everything. I feel what you feel. Your friends are my friends. Your pain is my pain. And I cannot stand here and do nothing while people suffer if I have the power to help." "I love you," said. "I love you so much it hurts." "Then let me prove that I love you too," said. "Let me save your people, and after whatever happens, at least we will have done something good together." They went to the medical bay together. Nearly dropped her tablet when she saw materialize next to. The other doctors and nurses stared in shock, quickly explained who was and that she could help. Recovered quickly, her scientific curiosity overcoming her surprise. "You can cure this." "I believe so," said. "But I will need access to your medical equipment and samples of the pathogen. I will also need time." "How much time?" asked. 6 hours, perhaps 8. Possibly less if the pathogen is similar to ones I have encountered before." Made a decision in seconds. "Do it. I'll handle any questions from the governor later. Right now, we need that cure." Worked through the night with, and the medical team. She placed her hands on their equipment and technology that hadn't existed moments before sprang to life. Holographic displays showed molecular structures spinning in the air. Information streamed past faster than human eyes could follow, but understood enough to be amazed. "This is incredible," whispered to as they watched work. "Her people's medical knowledge is thousands of years ahead of ours. With this technology, we could cure diseases we haven't even discovered yet." Watched focused expression, the way her markings pulsed in rhythm with the equipment. She's risking everything for us. I know, said, which says something interesting about her people's logic. They eliminated emotions because they thought feelings made people irrational. But she's here making the most rational choice possible, saving lives, being kind. Maybe emotions aren't the problem. Maybe they're the solution. Just before Dawn stepped back from the equipment. Her glow had dimmed from the exhaustion, but her eyes were bright with triumph. I have it. The cure is ready. The medicine worked. Within hours of receiving the treatment, the dying colonists began to recover. His fever broke. The fluid in his lungs cleared. By the end of the day, everyone who had been infected was stable and healing, had saved the entire colony. But she had also sealed her fate. As she finished synthesizing the last batch of medicine, her entire body went rigid. Her eyes flashed red, a color had never seen. They know, she said, has detected what I did, he is coming. A bright light filled the medical bay, and suddenly 5 materialized around them. They looked similar to, but their markings didn't glow. Their eyes were flat and emotionless. The tallest one, who wore something that might have been a uniform, looked at with what might have been disappointment. He said, using her full name, "You have violated the primary directive. You have shared forbidden technology with a developing species. You have allowed emotional compromise to override your judgment. You must return to the ship for examination and correction." No, said, stepping between and the other. She saved lives. She did something good. You can't punish her for being kind. The tall looked at as if he were an interesting specimen. You are the human she has been visiting. Her emotional attachment to you is the source of her corruption. You have damaged her with your feelings. I haven't damaged her, said, his fear turning to anger. She was already different. She already felt things. She told me your people try to erase anyone who doesn't fit your perfect, emotionless society. That's not correction. That's cruelty. Emotions are inefficient, the said. They cause suffering. We eliminated them to create a better civilization. She's not suffering, insisted. She's happy, or she was before you showed up. Moved to stand beside, taking his hand in front of her people. Her markings began to glow brighter again. I will not deny what I have done. I shared our medical technology. I saved these humans because I chose to, and I would make the same choice again. That is evidence of your corruption, said. You must be treated before your condition spreads. My condition? Eyes flashed through angry colors. You mean my emotions, my capacity to care about others, my love? She turned to look at the colonists in their beds, healing because of her. I have been among humans for months. I have learned what our people lost when we erased emotions. Yes, they feel pain and fear and sadness, but they also feel joy and hope and love. They create beauty. They make connections. They care about each other even when it is illogical to do so. Looked at, and her expression softened. This human asked me to marry him. In his culture, that means choosing to spend your life with someone, to face all challenges together, to build something bigger than yourself. When has anyone in our civilization wanted something like that in the last 1,000 years? Was silent for a moment. Those are the words of someone who has been infected by human irrationality. You will be treated. It is for your own good. No, said firmly. I will not submit to treatment. I will not let you erase what I have become. Then we will take you by force, said, and the other moved forward. But Governor Myra had entered the medical bay with a dozen colony security officers. I don't think so, she said calmly. This woman saved our colony. She's under our protection now. Looked at the humans with their primitive weapons, and something almost like surprise crossed his face. You would threaten violence to protect her. You would risk conflict with a civilization far more advanced than yours. Yes, Myra said simply. Because it's the right thing to do, and because she's one of us now, she chose us. We choose her. Felt something break and heal in his chest at the same time. His people, his human people with all their emotions and irrationality, were ready to fight for love, for him. For Hope, the standoff lasted 3 days, and his team returned to their ship, but 6 more vessels appeared in orbit around 442b. They didn't attack, but their presence was a clear threat. The colony went on alert. People who had never thought about war suddenly had to consider it. Stayed in the dome with, protected by colony security. She looked more tired each day, her glow dimming. "This cannot continue," she said on the 3rd evening. "My people will not simply leave, and if humans try to fight them, you will lose. I cannot allow that to happen because of me." "What do you want to do?" asked, though he feared the answer. "I will return to face judgment, but I want to ask for something unprecedented. I want you to come with me." "To your," said surprised, "is that even possible?" "No human has ever been invited to space," admitted. "But no has ever requested a trial with alien testimony before either. If I am to be judged for letting emotions guide my actions, then let the judges see what human emotions truly are. Let them see you." Governor Myra called an emergency council meeting. The colony's leaders debated for hours. Many feared that sending into space was too dangerous. Others worried that refusing might make the situation worse. Finally, Myra made her decision. "We stand with those who stand with us," she said. "Saved our colony. The least we can do is let speak for her, and for us." Recovered from the plague, tried one last time to talk out of going. "You're walking into the heart of an alien civilization that thinks emotions are a disease. They might not let you come back." "I know," said, "but I have to try. If there's even a chance that I can help, I have to take it." "You really love her that much?" asked. "More than I knew I could love anyone," admitted. "She taught me things about myself I never understood. She made me see the universe differently, and I can't let her face this alone." Pulled his friend into a tight hug. "Then go, be brave, show them what humans are made of." The journey to the took 2 days on ship, though explained they could have made it in hours if they wanted. Was giving the High Council time to prepare for the unprecedented trial. Spent the time in a special chamber designed for humans, with atmosphere and gravity matching Earth standard. Visited whenever she was allowed, teaching him about what to expect. "The High Arbiter is named Tease," explained. "She has guided our people for over 1,000 of your years. She is ancient, powerful, and completely logical. She will not be moved by emotional appeals." "Then what should I say?" asked. "The truth," said. "Humans are good at truth. You see it through your feelings, and somehow that makes it more real than pure logic ever could." When they arrived at the, couldn't help but stare through the viewing screen. The planet was beautiful in a way that made his heart ache. Cities of silver and light covered entire continents. Ships moved through the sky like schools of fish. Everything was perfect, ordered, efficient, and somehow empty. "There are no gardens," said, realizing what felt wrong. "No parks, no wild places." "We eliminated those long ago," said sadly. "Inefficient use of space. We grow food in laboratories now. We have not planted a seed in soil for thousands of years." "That's terrible," whispered. "Yes," agreed. "I did not know it was terrible until I saw your garden, until I saw you growing things just because they were beautiful." The trial chamber was vast and intimidating. Hundreds of filled the space, their emotionless faces watching as and were led to the center. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat a being that made breath catch. Tease was ancient in a way he could feel. Her markings covered almost her entire body, complex patterns that seemed to contain entire histories. Her eyes were the color of deep space, black with distant stars. Tease's voice filled the chamber without her seeming to raise it. "You stand accused of sharing forbidden technology with a developing species. You stand accused of allowing emotional compromise to override logic. You stand accused of defying direct orders from your superior. How do you answer?" Stood straight, her glow bright despite her fear. "I am guilty of all these things, High Arbiter. I do not deny my actions." Then you accept the need for correction, for removal of the emotional defect that caused these violations. No, said firmly. I reject the premise that my emotions are a defect. I ask for the ancient right of testimony. I ask that this human be allowed to speak on my behalf. A murmur ran through the assembled, the first sign of reaction had seen from them. T's eyes focused on with an intensity that made him want to step back. A human. You wish an emotional, primitive being to speak in your defense. I wish the human I love to explain why emotions are not weakness, but strength, said. I wish him to show you what we have lost. Tease was silent for a long moment. Very well, this is unprecedented, but we will hear him. Human, step forward. His legs felt weak, but he moved to stand beside. Looking up at the ancient being who held fate in her hands, he took a deep breath and began to speak. My name is, I am an agricultural engineer from Earth. I grow plants. It's not impressive compared to everything your people can do. You build ships that cross galaxies. You've mastered technology beyond my understanding. But I know how to make things grow, and I think that matters. How does plant cultivation relate to this trial? Tease asked. Because growing things requires hope, said. When you plant a seed, you don't know if it will grow. You can do everything right and still fail, but you try anyway because you hope. You care about that seed even though logic says it's just a tiny thing that might die. That's what emotions are. They're caring about things even when it's not logical. Emotions caused our people to nearly destroy themselves in war, T said. We eliminated them to survive. How is that not logical? Because you didn't just eliminate the bad emotions, said, his voice growing stronger. You eliminated all of them. Yes, emotions can lead to anger and hate and war, but they also lead to love and compassion and kindness. Saved my entire colony because she felt compassion. She risked everything because she loves me and loves humanity. Is that a defect? Or is that the best thing a person can be? It is inefficient, T said. She risked her future for beings she barely knows. That's what makes it beautiful, insisted. Your people made themselves logical and efficient, but at what cost? When was the last time a created something just because it was beautiful? When did one of you last do something kind for no reason except that it felt right? You've survived, but are you really living? Another murmur from the assembled. Tease raised a hand and silence fell. You make an interesting argument, human, but love is not enough foundation for major decisions. Love is temporary, a chemical reaction that fades. Love is everything, said desperately. It's what makes life worth living. Taught herself to feel because she wanted to understand her ancestors, your ancestors. And what she discovered was that your people weren't wrong to have emotions. They were just hurt and scared, and instead of learning to manage their feelings, they cut them out entirely. That's not evolution. That's amputation. Took a deep breath. I came here to ask you to spare, but I'm going to ask for something more. I'm asking you to look at what humans have achieved not despite our emotions, but because of them. We cooperate with beings different from ourselves. We create art and music and gardens. We love each other even when we're told it's impossible. We face a dangerous universe with hope instead of fear. Maybe we're primitive compared to you, but at least we're alive. You believe your way is superior to ours? Tease asked, and couldn't tell if she was offended or curious. No, said, but I believe both ways have value. What if you didn't have to choose between logic and emotion? What if you could have both? Does. She's brilliant and capable and efficient, but she also cares. She's the best of both our peoples combined. Pulled something from his pocket, a small seed he had brought from the dome. This is a seed from Earth. If you plant it in soil and give it water and light, it will grow into a cherry tree. In spring, it will bloom with flowers that serve no purpose except to be beautiful. That's inefficient by your standards. But those flowers mean hope and renewal to humans. They mean life goes on. They mean beauty exists even in a hard world. He held the seed out toward Tease. I want to marry. I want to join my life with hers. Not because it's logical, but because I love her and she loves me. I want to plant gardens with her on distant worlds. I want to show her everything that emotions can be, all the good and bad and complicated beautiful mess of feeling things deeply. And I want to offer you something too. What could a human possibly offer us? Tease asked. A future where you don't have to be afraid of feelings anymore, said. A future where logic and emotion work together instead of fighting. A future where can choose to feel again if they want to. Is proof it's possible. Let her show others. Let us show you. The chamber was completely silent. T stared at for what felt like an eternity. Then she did something that made every in the room gasp. She reached down and took the seed from his hand. I once felt emotions, T said quietly. Before I took the treatment, before I became the High Arbiter, I remember what it was like to hope and fear and love. Her eyes, dark and distant, focused on the tiny seed in her palm. I have spent 1,000 years telling myself we made the right choice when we eliminated emotions. And now a human stands before me holding a seed and tells me we were wrong. She looked at, what you feel for this human, is it real? It is the most real thing I have ever experienced, said. More real than logic, more real than duty. He makes me want to be better. He makes me want to feel everything, even when it hurts. Tease closed her hand around the seed. I will make a decision that will likely haunt me. You are guilty of all charges, but I will not order correction. Instead, I offer exile. You will leave space. You may never return, but you will keep your emotions. And if this human still wishes to marry you, that bond will be recognized by our people as the first formal joining between our species. His glow flared bright with hope and disbelief. You are allowing this. I am, T said, on one condition. You will serve as humanity's first ambassador to our people. You will teach us about emotions, and perhaps someday some of us will choose to feel again. She looked at. Plant your gardens, human. Teach us what we have forgotten. Show us that hope is not illogical but necessary. Tears ran down his face. Thank you. Do not thank me yet, T said. You are asking to marry someone from a species that finds emotions incomprehensible. You will face challenges you cannot imagine. But if you are brave enough to try, then perhaps humans and have much to learn from each other. She opened her hand, looking at the seed once more. I will plant this in soil as you instructed, and I will wait to see if it grows. The wedding took place on a small moon between space and the outer edge of human colonies. It was neutral ground, a barren rock that had never known life until humans and came together to build something temporary and beautiful for a single day. The preparations took 2 months. During that time, word spread across both civilizations about the unprecedented union. Humans were fascinated by the love story between one of their own and an alien, were disturbed, curious, and some were quietly hopeful. Young who had always wondered about the emotions their ancestors eliminated began asking questions their elders couldn't answer. Stood in a small habitat module adjusting his formal clothes for the 10th time, laughed and pushed his hands away. Stop fidgeting, you look fine. I'm getting married to an alien in front of representatives from 2 civilizations, said. I think fidgeting is reasonable. You're getting married to someone you love, corrected. The rest is just details. Governor Myra entered wearing formal robes for the ceremony. It's time. Are you ready? Took a deep breath. I've been ready since the moment she said she loved me. The ceremony space was outdoors under a temporary atmospheric dome. Chairs held witnesses from both species. Humans sat on one side, their faces showing open emotion. Sat on the other, their expressions neutral but their presence itself a statement of change. In the center, where both groups could see, a small garden had been planted with earth flowers and bioluminescent plants from the growing together in alien soil. T stood at the front, ancient and powerful, ready to officiate. Next to her was Myra, representing humanity. They had spent weeks working out a ceremony that honored both cultures, creating something new from 2 very different traditions. Music played. a blend of human instruments and harmonic technology that created sounds impossible in nature but beautiful to both species, and then appeared, walking slowly toward the center. She wore white, the human tradition, but the fabric glowed with her natural luminescence. Her markings were bright with happiness, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Her eyes cycled through every color of joy and love and hope. She was the most beautiful thing had ever seen. Walked beside, serving as her attendant. They had become friends with both of them over the past months, fascinated by the biology and equally fascinated by the relationship. She gave a warm smile as they approached. When reached, she took his hands and her glow intensified. "I am here," she said softly, the traditional greeting for momentous occasions. "I see you," responded, using the phrase had taught him that meant complete recognition and acceptance of another being. T spoke first, her ancient voice carrying across the assembled witnesses. "We gather to witness something that has not occurred in living memory, a bonding between two beings of different species, different worlds, different ways of understanding the universe. Of the and of humanity have chosen each other despite all logic suggesting this is impossible." Myra continued, her voice warm with emotion, could not express. "Love is humanity's greatest strength. It drives us to do impossible things. It makes us reach across distances that should separate us. Today, love has brought two civilizations together through two people brave enough to feel it completely." The ceremony combined elements from both cultures. Tees performed the ancient mind-bonding ritual, placing her hands on both ends' foreheads. Felt a warmth spread through his mind, a connection forming that let him sense emotions as clearly as his own. Joy, love, hope, and a fierce determination to make this work. "The bond is formed," Tees said, and something in her voice suggested emotion despite her neutral expression. "It cannot be broken by distance or time. You are now connected in a way my people have not experienced for." Myra then led them through human vows. "Do you take as your wife to love and cherish, in happiness and hardship, for as long as you both live?" "I do," said, his voice strong and clear. "I promise to help you understand every emotion. I promise to plant gardens with you on any world we call home. I promise to love you through every challenge we face." "Do you take as your husband to love and cherish, in happiness and hardship, for as long as you both live?" "I do," said, her eyes settling on a pure golden color. "I promise to show you wonders you have never imagined. I promise to learn from your emotions and teach you from my knowledge. I promise to choose you every day, across any distance, for the rest of my life." They exchanged rings made by human craftsmen and engineers working together. Simple bands of mixed metals that would never tarnish, inscribed with words in both languages that meant forever. "By the authority of both our peoples, I declare you joined," Tees and Myra said together. "May your union be the first of many bridges between our worlds." Kissed as humans cheered and looked on with something that might have been the beginning of understanding. Her lips were warm and her glow flared bright enough to illuminate the entire dome for a moment. When they broke apart, both were crying and laughed with delight at the sensation of happy tears. The celebration that followed was awkward at first. Humans wanted to dance and sing, stood in groups discussing the philosophical implications of what they had witnessed. But slowly, conversation began between the species, talked excitedly with a scientist about medical research, found himself explaining human music to a young who kept asking about the purpose of rhythm. Tees approached, and as they stood together, his arm around her waist. "The seed you gave me has sprouted," she said. "A small green shoot in soil I had not touched in centuries. I find myself checking on it every day to see if it has grown. This is inefficient use of my time." "But you do it anyway," said, smiling. "I do," Tees admitted. "Perhaps that is the beginning of hope, or perhaps I am simply curious to see the flowers you promised." She looked at. "You were always different, child. I see now that perhaps different is not the same as defective. Thank you, High Arbiter said, her glow soft with gratitude. I have made a decision, Tease continued. I will begin a program. Young who wish to experience emotions will be allowed to refuse the treatment. They will study with humans to learn what feelings are and how to manage them. It will be optional, slow, and carefully monitored, but it will be a start. Felt hope expand in his chest. That's wonderful. It is logical, Tease corrected, but there was something in her eyes that suggested she was learning to feel again herself. Humanity is expanding across the galaxy. If we are to have meaningful relations with your species, we must understand you. And understanding requires experiencing what you experience. She turned to leave, then paused. When my cherry tree blooms, I will invite you both to see it. I find I wish to share the experience with someone who understands its significance. After the celebration and return to Nu, the colony welcomed them with genuine warmth. Their habitat had been expanded to accommodate technology integrated with human comfort. It was a perfect blend of both worlds, just like their relationship. That first night in their new home, they sat in the garden dome as stars wheeled overhead, rested her head on shoulder, her glow soft in content. I never imagined this was possible, she said. When I first saw you in this dome during the solar storm, I thought I was simply saving one life. I did not know I was beginning my own. Do you have any regrets? Asked. Sat up and took his face in her glowing hands, looking at him with eyes that had settled into a warm purple. I regret nothing. You taught me what it means to feel. You showed me that love is not weakness but the strongest thing in the universe. You made me understand what my ancestors knew before they made themselves logical. Life without emotion is not life at all. I love you, said. Thank you for choosing me. Thank you for choosing to feel. I love you too, said. And I will choose you every day and every moment for as long as we both exist. They kissed under the stars of an alien world, two beings from different species who had found in each other something their civilization said was impossible. Around them, earth plants and bioluminescent flowers grew together in harmony, proof that different things could not only coexist but create something more beautiful than either could alone. The years that followed were not easy. Cultural differences caused misunderstandings. Some remained opposed to emotional restoration. Some humans feared the advanced aliens, but worked tirelessly as bridges between their peoples. 20 years later, their home on Nu had become a center of cultural exchange. The garden had expanded into a vast park where plants from a dozen worlds grew together. Human children played among the flowers while young learned about emotions through careful study and interaction. And had 3 children, made possible through advanced genetic technology that blended human and DNA. Their daughter Hay had her mother's glowing markings and her father's warm brown eyes. Their son could shift his eye color like a but laughed like a human. Their youngest was still learning to control her telepathic abilities while loving human picture books. Mom, Dad, Hay called, running into the garden where her parents were planting new seeds. At 19, she was preparing to join the first mixed-species exploration fleet. My application was accepted. I'm going to explore beyond the known systems with a crew of both humans and pulled her daughter into a tight hug, her markings flaring bright with pride. You will do amazing things. We're so proud of you, added, joining the embrace. Hay laughed, then pulled back. High Arbiter sent a message. She said to tell you the cherry tree bloomed again this year. She said the flowers remind her why hope matters. And exchanged a look, communicating through both their bond and their long years together. Tell her we will visit soon, said, and that we are grateful she gave us a chance when logic said she should not. As Hay ran off to share the news with her siblings, pulled close. Do you remember what I said that night in the garden, when I thought you couldn't hear me? You said you wished you could marry me, said, smiling, and I said then it shall be. You made the impossible real, said. You changed everything. We changed everything, corrected. Together, the way all good things are done. They stood in their garden on an alien world, surrounded by the life they had created, both botanical and familial. Two species that should never have connected had found in each other the missing pieces of themselves. Logic and emotion working together. Different worlds creating something new and beautiful. In the sky above, ships from Earth and the traveled together toward distant stars, carrying crews of both species. On planets across the galaxy, gardens grew with mixed seeds. And somewhere in T's ancient chambers, a cherry tree bloomed, tended by hands that were learning to hope again. Love had bridged the impossible distance between the stars, and in doing so, it had shown two civilizations that the universe was far more beautiful when experienced together, with all the messy, illogical, wonderful emotions that made life worth living. Whispered his wish that night and had answered, "Then it shall be." And it was.